everyone. So I did a little mini haul, and so I figured I would show you what I got from my order. It's two separate orders, but so the first thing is I ordered another one of these Daniel Smith watercolor sticks. This is in cobalt teal blue. They didn't have it in the store, so I just figured I wanted to try it, and this is a color that I use a lot. And then I got this gouache. This is Cobalt Green Pale. And I'll swatch these things out for you after. But I don't have a color that's like this in gouache. And I really love using this kind of color in watercolor, so I thought I would kind of see what this was like. And then I got this Derwent Light Fast colored pencil in the shade Nightshade, and I've really enjoyed using this to draw with. And I just like Derwent Light Fast colored pencils to draw with a lot because they're not too soft, but you can get a lot of varying textures and stuff. So this is just a replacement. And then I ordered these because I was hoping to be able to use them for storage, or if I'm going out to draw on location. I thought that they would be able to fit these or Neo Colors or the Neo Arts. Oops. Basically any sort of messier thing. They definitely feel quite flimsy, but I mean, they fit these. And then I'm also hoping that they'll be able to fit the R&F drawing oils, which I have in here, because I haven't really been sure how to take them. So this, I guess I could have measured. Yes, they literally fit perfectly. That is amazing. I mean, they're gonna move around a little bit, but not a whole lot. But I'm very excited about that. So that's exciting. And then the other thing I was thinking of is I have a bunch of like little spare watercolor tins around that I'm not using, and I thought that would be a good way to kind of contain them. So I'm super stoked about this. And then finally I got these pastel pencils. Also, if you hear a cat meowing in the background, she is playing with her toy mouse downstairs. So I picked, these are the Caran d'Ache pastel pencils, and I picked these colors because I did some research and found that these are the colors that are not in the full set. And I was thinking of maybe asking for them for my birthday, or like a gift card to Blick or something. And so I just wanted to get a few more because I've been using pastel pencils a lot recently. So these are the colors. Okay, so the first thing I'll swatch out is the Nightshade colored pencil. It's just a really, really dark purple. I would say if you're a fan of the Luminance colored pencil in dark indigo, this is a more purpley version of that. I just really love using it to draw with, because you can get it really, really dark, but you can also get it really, really light as well. So I highly recommend this one. All right, and then this is going to be a little hard to swatch, but this is one of the pastel pencils in, it's Azurite White. So yeah, you can barely see this. I think it's slightly more gray than a bright white, so that'll be interesting to compare over the top of other things. And then I have earth green. This one feels slightly scratchier than I'm used to with the Caran d'Ache pastel pencils, but these are my favorite that I've tried. I've tried the Faber-Castell ones, and what else have I tried? So this is my collection. I have tried these Carbothello, the Stabilo ones, and I do not like these. They are very, they have a really nice color, but they're very smudgy. And I've tried the Pitt Faber-Castell ones, and I like these too. Those are really nice. But my favorite, oh, and then I got some from my grandmother. And let's see, let me see a darker color. These ones. These are the Conte à Paris. And these are nice as well. They're a much thicker barrel. And these are very smudgy as well, but I just maybe like these a bit more. But yeah, my favorite are these Caran d'Ache ones. They just go down really, really well. And the color kind of stays put. So you can make lines and they'll smudge, but not fully smudge away. My favorite, before I get back into more of the swatching, my favorite colors that I've used a lot are these light ultramarine violet I've used a lot. And this brown olive 10%, which I've used, is kind of like a white, but it's just a really nice color. Now my hands are all smudgy, but anyways, so maybe I just need to sharpen this one, and see, it's also very, very light, so there's that. And then next up I have brown olive 50%. Yeah, this one feels more like what I'm used to. It's a really nice color. But yeah, see how it kind of just stays put? It doesn't move around as much as the other ones. So, I mean, if you're going for more of a smudgy look, then maybe that's something that would be better for you. So I'll just stick with the greens. So this is light olive 20%. This is really, really nice. Yeah, these feel a bit not scratchier, but more like grittier when I go to rub it out, I think because something with the pigment. So I had light olive 40%. You do not need both of these, but I was just curious. So I would say the 20% is a bit lighter, but I mean, there's really not much of a difference. And then I got middle phthalo cyanine green. Yeah, this one feels quite scratchy as well, but it still is nice because it leaves a really nice texture, but it also kind of smudges, but it doesn't completely smudge away the line. Here's that. And then I'll do the blue. So this is ice blue. You can see some of these correspond with the luminance colors as well, but some of them are different, like the middle phthalo green. And there's that one. Smudge it. I think it just maybe lays down like stronger pigment or something. I'm not really sure. I got some green in there. Whoops. Okay, and then this is violet. It's a nice purple, kind of like a dioxazine purple. But yeah, do you see how there's a bit, you get a bit more texture with these, and you can kind of, if you use it a bit softer compared to, what's this one? This one where, I mean, I guess you can get texture here too, but it just kind of wipes away the Stabilo one versus these leaves more of a mark. And then the last one I got is ochre. Oh, I didn't smudge this one. So it still smudges a lot, but it just leaves behind like a much stronger pigment. These are really nice to work over like paint, like watercolor, and all that. So I've made a huge mess. I'm gonna go clean my hands real quick. I also got some water as well, so I can swatch out the cobalt green pale. I think the earth green will look really nice over other colors. Excited for that. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, also sorry, still lots of cat hair. I pet Tilly after I wash my hands. Mistake. That is the perfect turquoise. Wow. Oh my gosh, I love this. I'm very, very excited. But yeah, that's all. Oh my gosh, look at all the cat hair. But that's all I got, and I will let you all know more. I'll report back after I've used more of these pastel pencil colors and the gouache too. Hello everyone. So it's a few days later. So I've been busy at work, swatching the day away and just color mixing, and I've been trying to kind of revamp my palette a little bit. I think when I had made if you'd seen the video where I put together this art toolkit palette, I feel like, well, first of all, it was all watercolor. And I feel like there were a lot of colors that I wasn't using. And so I've kind of decided to look back at how I've been working, what colors I've been gravitating towards, and I've been doing kind of an overhaul. So I've been doing that. And then also I have this palette. I don't want to tip anything over. But so this one is just gouache. And I'm also revamping this one a bit. I'm kind of going back through watercolors that I have and looking and kind of taking stock of things. I am what someone might refer to as a paint hoarder. I have a lot. I have a lot of paint. I have a lot of gouache and watercolor specifically. It's a problem. So sometimes it can feel overwhelming to choose. My desk is an absolute disaster right now. But I will show you some of the color swatching that I've been doing because it's been super fun and also very eye-opening. So let me bring you in closer. Okay, so welcome to this disaster of craziness. It is insane, absolutely insane right now. I have been sorting through all of my colors and trying to figure things out. So let me see. Oh, and I just put my finger in the white. I will be right back. I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer to hopefully avoid some of this craziness that's going on at this desk right now. I have just torn the place apart, basically. I've decided I'm not going to put on airs that sorry, I bumped the camera, but I'm not going to put on any airs that I am a orderly worker because I'm absolutely not. I do clean my desk, but when it's serious matters like swatching and finding a palette, I am crazy. So I just wanted to show you all some of the things that I've been working on. I've been working on some of the mixes for my larger art toolkit palette. And I found some really interesting watercolor mixes that I thought I would share. I'm gonna use like a little pointer situation here. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna use this paintbrush to point. So something that initially stood out to me was this one here. And this is a mix of Schmincke Cobalt Green Pure and my new obsession as of late, which is the Daniel Smith Mayan Blue Genuine. And I think that's what this mix was. I'm pretty sure. I know this was that mix, and then this was added some white. So that is one of the mixes that I'm really, really enjoying. And then up here is that cobalt green pale color. And I wanted to compare it with the Holbein aqua blue, which I also have been using for a while. It's been in this gouache palette for like the last year or so. That's this color here. Because I was wondering, you know, do I justify having them both in at the same time? Because they're a bit similar. But then, fast forward to today, I was doing some mixing here with raw umber. Because I have several raw umbers. I don't know how I've collected them all over the years. You know what? Let me get them and show you. So I have 5 raw umber gouaches. I don't know how I keep accumulating them. I think it's because oftentimes they are very, very different. Because this one, you know what, let me swatch these out for you so that you see what I'm talking about. For a while, my favorite raw umber was this, the Holbein one. But it is very close to a yellow ochre kind of color. This does make really pretty mixes though. But if I have raw or yellow ochre, I don't really feel like I need this one. The one that's similar, and this might have been the first one I've gotten, and there's definitely separation in here, but it's okay, is the Winsor Noon one. So you can see this one's slightly less yellowy and more maybe red color. And this one's fine. I wouldn't say it like really fully inspires me. And then I have this Royal Talons raw umber. So this one, I really, really like this one. It's a bit more brown and less, I don't know, just less like red or maybe a little slightly cooler. And then these two are pretty similar. This is the M Graham and this is the Utrecht. Both very dark. And I think this is the kind that I'm most partial to. And there was some separation here too, but it's okay. So that's the M Graham. And then this is the Utrecht. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. So you can see how similar they are. I'm not sure if this one's like slightly maybe redder than the M Graham one. I'm not totally sure, but they're pretty freaking similar. But with all this said and done, so in this palette, I put the Utrecht one in there. But today I had ordered the M-Gram one just to see how, because it was, I have their, the M-Gram Payne's Gray gouache, and I really, really like that one. So I decided to try out the raw umber one. But in this one, because I had some stuff in here already, it's watercolor and random gouache, but I have the Daniel Smith watercolor in raw umber. So there's that. Let's go back to some of these swatches I was doing. But so another experimentation that I kind of forgot about that I had, a paint that I had and I haven't used in a while, is this Permanent Green Deep by Winsor & Newton. And I realized that that mixed with, oh, this is leaking everywhere. Okay. I really was not lying when I said I'm a mess. But anyways, so I realized that this mixed with raw umber makes amazing dark greens. And I think that's what I was missing on this palette is I know I could make dark greens with like mixing my own greens, but just out of convenience, I thought, why not just try it and put it in? My concern was, and I feel like a lot of my Winsor & Newton gouaches I've kind of separated, like the binder. So the cad yellow has yet to dry in the pan in my other palette. So here's hoping that it does. I'm losing hope at this point. But so hopefully this, the green, Permanent Green Deep one will dry. It looks like it's setting up a little bit and drying a bit at the top. So that's what I'm hoping will happen. But so I was making more mixes over here. To be honest, I don't know exactly what mixes I used. I know I probably tried it with like burnt sienna and I added white to it, but really, really liked that. Over here, I was doing, this is raw umber mixed with cad yellow. I'm obsessed with these yellow colors. And then so this was a case to keep both the aqua cobalt green pale and the aqua blue. Because when you mix them with raw umber, they are very different, and they're also very different when you mix each with white. So, maybe excessive, but because you could probably add some yellow or something to the aqua blue to like get it here. I don't know. But then I also mixed, oh, where's my pointer? Here we go. I mixed the raw umber into this bellflower gouache that I've had, and I don't know why I don't use this because it's so pretty. But look at these gorgeous purples. I am blown away. What have I been doing all my life? So as you can see, I've been very busy. I feel like I'm reaching a point where I'm feeling pretty good. I think that the balance that I'm trying to strike in my combined watercolor and gouache palette is the ability to have loose watercolor washes with granulation. So that's why I put in some watercolors. So I have like Potter's Pink in there, along with some other ones. Also, does anyone else feel like there's always cat hair or pet hair in their paints? Because I feel like there's always pet hair. And I'm hoping to be able to go outside and paint in the next couple days. My sleep schedule has been very funky lately. I've just been struggling with going to sleep when I should, and so I've been struggling a little bit with that, and that's been feel like holding me back from painting outside. If you're interested, I could do like a final swatching video of, updated palette and what's on there, or the mixes, because that's what I've been really enjoying lately is the color mixing, or just reminding myself how important it is to feel comfortable with the colors that you have on your palette, especially when you're painting outdoors. And so just color mixing is a great way of doing that. It was so cold and my hands were freezing and it was kind of drizzling, so we came back into the car and Phoebe's back here just chilling. So I'm trying to decide if I want to, I might just take out some colored pencils or just a pencil and draw for a bit before we head back. I drove and Nadia and Phoebe walked here. But yeah, I feel like it was just a good starting point to just get back into the swing of things of getting and drawing outside. I feel a little rusty, and there's so much to take in, it can be a little bit overwhelming, I feel like, when you haven't drawn outside for a while. This will be good. So I'm just going to probably get a pencil out. I think that's what I'll do. I just wanted to show you all some of the work that I've been doing. I've been painting outside or just drawing from life a lot, whether it's going to the park that I really enjoy, or I did a few self-portraits or drawing the pets, and I've really been enjoying it. I finished this Pith sketchbook, which was exciting because I almost finished this whole sketchbook in a month, and so that's really exciting. There were a few pages right at the beginning that I had done a couple months ago, but I have ordered a few more of these, and I'm still working in this Etcher sketchbook, which I definitely think that I feel a bit more precious about just because it's more expensive and like the paper's really nice. And then I finished another one of these Royal Talons ones, so I started another one of these today. I feel like this trio of sketchbooks is really nice, a nice combo for me. I would say the Pith sketchbook is probably my favorite in terms of like all around working, because I can more comfortably paint in it as well as draw and not feel as precious as the Etcher one, even though the Etcher paper is really nice. The Etcher sketchbook, I feel like in terms of like drawing with colored pencils, it's a bit softer paper almost. So it's really great for painting and mixed media in general. But I would say like in terms of drawing, I prefer the Pith sketchbook paper. But I figured I would show you what I've been working on. And then I think in a bit, we're going to go to the park again. It's been raining like crazy this past week, so I haven't been able to get out as much as I wanted to. And I'll show you some of the work I did one day when it was just started pouring at the park. So I did this sketchbook piece at the park, and it had already been drizzling at this point. So I had brought a bunch of paint, what my watercolor gouache palette to use, and I just wasn't able to take it out. It was already drizzling and it was super, super windy. But I had brought I brought colored pencils, so I started with that, and then I added in the RNF drawing oils, which I've been very much enjoying lately. I brought only a couple in one of these plastic containers that I had shown at the beginning of this video. And they work so, so well. I had used it as well to bring some Daniel Smith watercolor sticks. And they definitely have a very kind of strong smell. But it's not too bad. And they fit perfectly in here. And you can stack a couple, more than just the 5 of these. You can put a few extra on here. But so I did that. It's interesting because this was a couple days ago, and I was able to, this is almost dry here. And then this is like the brown pink one, I think. And then this is one of the greens, and it's like slightly, it's mostly dry, but slightly still there. Yeah, and then this color as well. So I experimented with smudging it a little bit and then scratching back into it. Just kind of an amalgamation of textures. And then because it was raining, but I didn't really want to leave yet, so I got back in the car and just did a sketch of the park sitting from my car view. So I decided to just bring out my watercolor palette and do a drawing or sketch. So I did this one in my Etcher sketchbook from the same kind of setting. With this one, I was just kind of like did a quick little sketch, and then this one I added, you know, obviously more paint. I mean, it was mostly paint and then a little bit of the watercolor sticks in here and probably in here. And mostly just experimenting with how my materials worked, which was really, really fun. And then I had wanted to go back the following day, but it was just because it was raining, I just wasn't able to. And so I started the next day by just going on, I think it was either like Pexel or Unsplash. And I just went through and drew from some like things that popped up that I felt inspired by, and just decided to make like a little scene. I feel like that's what I've been really enjoying lately, is if I don't really know what to draw, I just go to the homepage of one of those sites and then just draw some things. So trying to be able to simplify things like the landscape, especially since I've been drawing on location a lot more. So I really had a lot of fun with that. And then I was trying to draw my cat as she was sitting, and she was sitting in my lap for a while. So, you know, obviously she kept turning her head. But I think I've gotten better at drawing her and understanding like the shape of her, like noticing like how this part of her body like curves out. Like, I don't know. I was really enjoying that. And then a little bit later in the day, I sat like on a chair. I did a little setup and just drew outside into the backyard because it was pouring down rain. So I had a lot of fun just using some like gouache and then colored pencil and that same like watercolor stick, and using it here. I think it was, let's see, it's this burnt yellow ochre color. I'm really, really liking this color in particular. And also I think it's nice because I've drawn or painted this scene so many times that it feels kind of familiar and comfortable and like gives me more room to play. So I did that, and then I think I was working in my Etcher sketchbook and I did, or this might have been the first one I did actually that day, or that drawing session when I did my setup. And I was sitting in just a different location, so I slightly adjusted where I was sitting so that my view is slightly different. I don't feel like this one was as successful as the other one. I like the textures I got here, but I think that it's just kind of lacking, I think compositionally and just kind of generally. But I mean, this was more of like a warm-up. And then the next day it was, you know, it was still raining, cats and dogs. So oh no, this was then that same night I drew from a book that I got, that same book from my grandmother on Normandy, which is really nice to just draw in bed at night because I'm like, you know, not on, there's no screens or anything like that, except usually I'm probably watching something on the TV. So, but you know, I'm not staring directly at a screen. And then the next day I was drawing or sitting in that same spot downstairs, and I was just drawing things like this was that plant outside. I drew Phoebe and my sister's croc, just as a little warm up. And then I brought a bunch of materials downstairs, drew that same, you know, backyard scene. I used a base of pan pastels and then went over it with Neo Arts and colored pencil. And I think what was interesting and what I learned specifically about pan pastels, which I'm working on familiarizing myself with so that I can make a more detailed video about, but I started off with this scene by drawing it with pencil. And I think when I started off the pan pastel, it was very tight and I was using it more like coloring in compared to painting with it. And so it didn't feel very as enjoyable, or I wasn't really getting the results that I wanted. And I think once I started coloring outside of the lines and actually more painting with it, letting mistakes happen in terms of like color mixing, that's when I started to enjoy it more. And then also when I went over the pencil marks with darker colored pencil, that made it feel more cohesive when I added the lines in. And the other thing that I learned from this is that I really like how this texture here, there's no pan pastel underneath it, that you can see the color of the page. And I like that variation in texture. I think when it's all pan pastel, it maybe feels, at least in this drawing, it would have felt a little one note. And I like the layering and like the mixed media of it. So then I did that scene again that same day, but in paint as a base. And I decided I wanted to just let loose fully and have fun, just kind of not really worrying about the outcome. So I didn't really draw anything out. With this one, I just started painting. And that was really fun. Honestly, I've just been having fun. I love how the colors of the fence turned out with this one and some of the energy in this tree. I think in terms of composition, I don't know. I think I like this one a bit more. There's more of a central, I like the balance of this in terms of there's lots of looseness and play over here, but you have a central focus point that your eye is drawn to. Whereas with this one, it still kind of has that, but I would say like I like the purple here and, you know, and the colors here. So there's maybe more experiment with color in the second one that feels more vibrant. And then let's see. I think this was that night as well. I went back to my book on Normandy, and here, I'll show you the book. So it's this book here that I got, and it just has all of these amazing pictures on Normandy of these like houses and just different things like interiors, landscape. There's just a lot here that I just have been feeling really inspired by. So this was one of those scenes that I drew. I have been really enjoying, I rediscovered because I went through and swatched all of my colored pencils and kind of narrowed things down. And I rediscovered this one I've had for a really long time. It's the dark sepia polychromos pencil. So I used that to draw here. It almost feels less like sepia and more like a French gray. Figuring out how to like simplify the landscape and all of that. I had fun doing this. And then later on, I swatched out all of my Sennelier oil pastels, and I decided that I wanted to try them. And so I went back and I took this painting and then I used that as reference. There's several artists that work like that, and I've been wanting to try it for a while. If you're familiar with Milton Avery, I have his book where he would sketch, he'd go out and sketch the landscape and, you know, collect all these sketches and then paint from those sketches. On YouTube, I've seen Sandy Hester do that as well, and I've just felt so inspired to see how these artists work. And so I wanted to try it myself, and it's interesting using your own reference to then also work in a different medium. And with something like oil pastels, you can mix the colors, obviously, in some ways, but I don't have that many colors. So I think I also used some of the R&F drawing oils, but there's some really fun things that happened in this piece. Like I layered up, there's like a purpley color that I layered blue over that I really like the result of that. And then I scratched into the oil pastel. I used a layer of acrylic medium over top of this, which is not archival. for anybody who's interested because of the way that oil paint does not dry, so it can cause peeling, but for sketchbook purposes, that's fine. I have a fixative, but it's just so smelly. I want to be doing this again because that was really, really fun. And let's see what else. Oh, I did a portrait of myself using RNF drawing oils just as an experiment. And but I like how my shirt kind of complements things, and it looks kind of, I like how my mouth turned out too. So that was really fun. However, I tried to do another one last night and not as successful. I think I was feeling pressure maybe because this was the last page in my sketchbook. And yeah, so I just gave up on this one because I was over it. And I tried to like blend in things, and I don't know. I'm still figuring out the drawing oils, and I feel like in the first one it was more successful. So I'm going to pack up some things to take to the park. I think that I will bring some of the same kind of things I brought last time, which is the drawing oils. I'll probably bring either this palette that is watercolor and gouache that I recently edited, or I've got this palette which is just, ooh, it has a cat hair on it, which is just gouache. Yeah, so I'm not totally sure. I might just take this gouache palette and some colored pencils. I was looking for something in my closet yesterday or the day before, and I had a box of soft or pan pastels that are new, not even opened, and I dropped it and they all fell out and a couple of them broke, and I am so devastated. But it is what it is. I guess they're just pretty easily breakable. Like this, I just gotten this titanium white one that I dropped it off of my shelf and it dropped and broke, just the corner. So you know, that's just a part of it, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna pack everything up in my Peg and All Sendak roll, in the smaller one, and I will report back. So we ended up going to the park. It's the same park that we've been going to, and of course we had to take Phoebe because she loves it. Also, I have a little cold, so I apologize for my nasally voice. But I brought like a bunch of stuff. I brought the watercolor sticks, and I sat at this picnic table, which made it really easy to spread all of my supplies out. And I was breaking in a new Pith Lumia sketchbook, and I put a layer of gouache down and then kind of just added a bunch of materials over top. I feel like I was struggling a little bit at first, but then I just kind of enjoyed it. Phoebe really wanted to steal the other dog's balls, so we we had to end up leaving soon. But for the next piece I did, the next sketch, I worked on this Strathmore mixed media paper that I had found. I'm trying to use up some of the paper supplies that I have. And yeah, I just kind of tried to have fun and experiment. I've still been working with the Daniel Smith watercolor sticks and really liking them. They make really interesting textures, but I liked how it turned out and I overall had fun, but thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next week. Bye.